Hey there. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I wear this shirt maybe 3 or 4 times a year. Today would be a day that I wear this shirt. That cool? And the arms are cool too, but I had to wear it with my hoodie. Um, Even though it's beautiful. I mean, there's a ceiling that the sun is coming through. A very thin ceiling, I'm going to say. But it looks like a ceiling. What do you think? That looks like a ceiling to me. But as you can see over here, if I show my steering wheel, you can see the sun reflecting off my hand. So the sun's coming through, but there's a ceiling. How could that be? And there's the airport. I'll get it. That looks like there's a few things going on over there. Not sure what. That's where the guy got a free airplane if he had promised to get it flying again. A Cessna 401. I wonder if that's pressurized. I have to check that out. It is St. Patrick's Day, 2023. Friday, appropriately enough. Happy hour starts at noon. For the Irish, every hour of every day is happy hour. When I was there, the bars opening at 6 o'clock in the morning seemed as weird as can be, but there were guys in there drinking. So I guess where there's a demand, there's going to be a supply, regardless of what it is. I'm a little bit worried about my dog. He's panting and shaking, and he does that a lot. Harvey, are you going to say hi to everybody? Yeah. Hey, over here. You ready to go out and chase the kitty cats? There he is, and the squirrelies. I had to drop the window because he was panting and it looked like maybe he was too hot. And then he shakes and shivers, and I don't know what the heck's going on there. Yeah, so St. Patrick's Day 2023. Time is flying by. It's just flying by. It's amazing. So there's this lurching. That's a great word, isn't it? Lurch. I lurched in our banking system. Joke. What a joke this banking system is. You know, the Federal Reserve dictates how much money a bank has to hold in reserve. So you take $1,000 to the bank and you deposit it. The reserve requirement would mandate that that bank keep a certain amount of that money and not loan it out. Oh, the wind's from the east today, and so they're landing. They're landing to the east. There goes a sports. Sorry I missed that one. A T-tails light sport is like a really light, nimble aircraft, but there was a bad accident out in, God darn it, was it Palo Alto, California? An instructor and a brand new student pilot crashed into the runway on final. And apparently the student panicked and pulled back on the yoke, or the stick, could have been a stick. And when you're on final, you're too slow to do that. The last thing you want to do is do a quick pullback on the stick. You add power. You know, if you're going to do a go around, you definitely can add power. But pulling back on the stick is deadly. They were about, I don't know, 200 or 300 feet above the ground. Boy, the bugs are starting to come out. Must be spring. I gotta get the window up, excuse me. Anyway, it was so tragic. And, you know, you could hear the tower talking to them, and the mic in the airplane was open when the accident happened. And you could hear the instructor yelling at the student, let go, let go, let go. He didn't. And he put the airplane nose down into a concrete runway. Well, wait a minute. We just had somebody land towards the east. Now there's somebody ready to take off towards the west. This is the thing about an uncontrolled airport. Figuring out which is the active runway can be a real adventure sometimes. This is a small airplane. I'm going to let it go, not video. Oh, they got lights at the end of each wing. Look at these guys. You can tell it's spring when these kind of bugs start turning up. That's on the outside, right? Yeah, on the outside of the window. I hope you can see that guy. And here's his cousin or his brother or his sister or some other relative. Here comes this airplane. Let's see if I can get this. And there he's up. It didn't take long. Let's see if I can. So here he comes. I hope I've got him on the screen. Fixed gear. That's not the light sport. That could be a light sport. I'm not sure. It's not the one that just landed though. The one that just landed was a T-tail. So, putting this window back up before these bugs come back with their families. Oh, anyway, I don't know how that's going to turn out. I'll cut it out if it's lousy. I do a little bit of editing. Not that intuitive, though, to figure that out. So, the bank reserve. I'm a bank. I just use Wells Fargo as an example. I go to the bank with $1,000. I deposit it. Now, what does the bank do with that $1,000? A reserve mandate from the Fed would require them to keep a certain amount in their reserve on the books there at the bank and not loan it out. Well, 2020, the Fed changed their mind and decided, well, the banks don't have to have anything in reserve. Zero. I mean, it's not too hard to figure out what's going on, what's going wrong right now. And that's a big part of it. Nothing in reserve. That's what happens like to a bank like SVB, Silicon Valley Bank in California. The second biggest bank failure in history. Washington Mutual was the first. Was the biggest. Well, this is a Cessna. It looks like a 152, and it is. That's a Cessna 152, pretty sure. Gets me right here. That airplane is a big part of my life. In addition to the Skyhawk, I have more time in a 152. So the banks have nothing in reserve. So they take your $1,000 and loan it out. Don't have it anymore. Now, when there's a run on the bank, which is what happened, that's been going like crazy the past 2 weeks. Credit Suisse went under, for guys. I heard that. I was like, what? The Swiss got their head up their rear end too? Their politicians and ours ought to compare notes. Anyway, so multiple bank collapses, and obviously that's why Bitcoin is pumping right now. So people are finally figured out, people with money, I think, maybe. Mike Saylor is the only one that's figured it out, but he sees all of this, what's happening, and he knows to go to Bitcoin. Everybody should have some Bitcoin. You can buy $10, $20 worth of Bitcoin if you want. I bought $100 of Bitcoin for each of my grandchildren, and I forget how much that got us. I mean, 0.005 or something like that. Not much, but if Bitcoin goes to 1 million, or like some people think 10 million, that $100 would be worth a whole lot more. And that's for them. That's the answer to all this horrible crap that's going down in the economy with the Fed and inflation and interest rates would be solved with Bitcoin. No government can screw around with it. Every time a government screws around with their currency, you end up like Zimbabwe, Venezuela. Argentina just went over 100% inflation. And they had a chance to go to a Bitcoin economy years ago. Tim Draper was trying to convince them to do that. Nope, we're going to stick with our old thing. Oh, no. All right, screw you. Anyway, I'm not selling my Bitcoin and I'm not selling my Tesla. Actually, there's a fair amount of activity going on at the airport today. It's interesting. Looks like all small reciprocating trainers. So it's a nice, the wind, what was I saying? The wind was out of the east. Looks like mostly out of the east, yeah. But they're taking off to the west right now. So, you know, when the windsock goes east-west, well, that means you can land it or take off either way. My dog wants to get out, I know. I've completed my exercises. Since I got this problem with my heart, my aortic valve doesn't want to cooperate. I was working out every day, and now I work out every other day. And it really feels good when I'm done, because I walk 3 miles, not outdoors, but in my apartment. I measured it out. I walk 3 miles with weights, with 5-pound weights in each hand, and I do 520 push-ups and 200 sit-ups. And that takes the bulk of 3 hours. In 4 sets. Not all at once. Couldn't do that all at once, but in 4 sets. So 50 sit-ups, 130 push-ups, and a little less than a mile for each one. So 3 divided by 4, 4 into 3 goes 7. So it's 7/10 of a mile that I walk around my apartment each time. Measured it out, so that's conservative. Walking outside is much better, but I have my dog to think about, and he's alone as much as I want him to. I don't want him to be alone extended periods of time. I mean, you know, he and his owner, who passed away last year, who I knew. I can't talk from my point of view because it's not very good. But you know, he was attached to her from birth. So, you know, animals will imprint on their parents, and he saw his previous owner as his mother, as his parent, and they bonded and were very close. That's a 152 again. I can tell by the shape of the wing. Cessna should approve of all designs of airplanes, in my opinion, because they've made the best airplanes. I always wanted a flat Cardinal RG, man, that would have been something. I love a high wing airplane too. I like to be able to see the ground. My father, ace fighter pilot from World War II, an ace with 8 kills. He got credited with 6. You have to have 5 to be an ace. He had 8 kills. But to have a confirmed kill, you have to have 2 other pilots confirm the kill. He had 8, but only 6 were confirmed. When I told him, let me put it this way, in my family, a compliment to me, or a word of encouragement to me, or a word of something I've done that was impressive, just never was received very well. this guy that just took off. Oh, it's the same guy. Low wing, fixed gear. Oh, and there's somebody going over the airport, crosswind to the pattern. Yeah, you can hear that. Can you hear that? I like that airplane. I think it's a Piper Cherokee, maybe? I'm not sure. I love the sound of that engine. So my father, you know, when I was doing aerial photography, I would see him, and he really wasn't that interested. Dear old dad. You know, how many people have two pilots in their family? My father and me, we were both pilots. I took both my brothers flying. I took two of my nephews. And all three of my children. I would not do that again with little kids. They were scared by the whole thing, but I figured, you know, this is part of living. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I want to do. I want to fly. That's what I want to do. Ran out of money to be a commercial pilot. I ran out of money. Man, that was a tough. If you're not coming out of the military and into the airlines, trying to get in through just, you know, training and paying for it yourself, boy, you can go broke real fast. And then when you get into the airlines, they don't pay you anything until you accumulate some time. Anyway, Dad he flew a P-40 in combat, and he was up against a superior performing airplane, but not a superior armed airplane. The 650 caliber machine guns that he had, 3 in each wing, man, he said that made him feel invulnerable. But he liked the low wing because the German Messerschmitts had more power. So they were always higher in altitude. So they were always looking up for the Hun and the sun. And he liked the low wing configuration because if it's high wing, you can't see up as good, as well. I like the high wing because the high wing 152/172 are just absolutely perfect for aerial photography. You couldn't design a better airplane for that function. One little problem with the wing strut that went, you know, from the wing down to the body. You just throw a little right rudder in, you know, and you move it out of the way if it's in the way. But that hardly ever was a problem for me. You better get in touch with your congressman about the economic situation and suggest Bitcoin as a resolution, because if you see what's happening today, First Republic Bank went under, and they were 30 billion with a B short, gone. They needed $30 billion. So the Fed told other banks in the area and in the banking industry, instead of them bailing them out, they told these other banks, you got to bail them out. Have the banks bailing out the banks. If you don't see something seriously broken and wrong with that, then you need a new pair of glasses, because a blind man could see that is an obvious marker for disaster. It's obvious. I mean, you don't think there's going to be any corruption, any temptations to do something criminal in that situation? Yeah, we'll give you a couple of billion. What are you going to give me? What? A weekend on your yacht? I already got a yacht. I don't need a weekend on your yacht. What else do you got? Oh, a ride on your private jet? Well, I got a private jet too. That doesn't do anything for me. A night with your wife? You're not serious. But that doesn't interest me either, because I already had that too. Yeah, your wife. She's the one with the mole on the inside of her leg. Yeah. I got a picture of that mole if you want to see it. So the banks, this is unsolvable and unsustainable, and something's going to break. So something broke over the last 2 weeks, and it's culminating today. Bitcoin went over 27,000. It had pulled back 2 weeks ago. I think it was at 20, 21, something like that. Go back another 2 weeks, and it was like at 15. Gee, I wonder why people were piling into Bitcoin. Lack of trust in the financial system and lack of trust in our government to handle this problem. The other day I was saying our government is $3 trillion in debt. Oops, little mistake on my part, sorry. It's 30 trillion. Our government is $30 trillion with a T in debt. And nobody cares. So what? I can still go to the Wawa and get my coffee and a donut, Dunkin' Nuts. You see that Casey Affleck? You want to laugh? Google Dunkin' Nuts or Dunkin' Nuts commercial or something like this. Saturday Night Live. Put SNL and then put Dunkin' Donuts, and you will have a laugh. Here comes an airplane. It looks like something, so I'm going to see if I can get that. Peace out, y'all, and keep your eye on what's going on economically, because when there's multiple runs on banks like there have been, it's not going in the right direction. Peace.